All right, welcome into another episode of Woodward Tigers here at woodwardsports.com. I'm Rogelio alongside Miss Chris Brown and Yooper, and you can find us on Spotify, iHeart Media, Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts. And of course, please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not already at Woodward Tigers. So, trying to do a little bit of the video countdown thing. Also, because I was trying to scramble to get a clip ready and I failed miserably. So. But yeah, there's plenty to get to this evening. So there's a lot of things going around with the Tigers. We saw some stuff today after the game, and there's a lot of things we'll need to address. And yeah, and a lot of rumors, a lot of frustration too. But the Tigers did take 2 out of 3 from the Padres, and John Verberg on Twitter, by the way, called it. Essentially, the Tigers would sweep. Padres thought they were overrated, and I kind of agree with him about that. But like I said, more on that a little later. But I do want to start the podcast with Tarik Skubal's comments after the game. Gentlemen, we're all cryptic. I mean, we can always be some sort of cryptic in our own ways, whether it's passive aggressive behavior, whatever. It could be a meme on Facebook and people's like, well, what they talking about? Subtweeting and all that. In this case, I don't know if Tarik has Twitter. I don't know. Maybe he has a troll account. I don't know. But nevertheless, this was something that I wanted. For anybody who's watching us on YouTube tonight live, this is what he said, and I'm going to, for everybody listening home on the podcast, here we go. I also would like to give a shout out to our fans this homestand. They were fucking phenomenal, and it stemmed from this, and this was right here. He said, I'm getting this from Cody Saberhagen after the game. Skubal was asked about being motivated in the 5th after a rough 4th inning. I had some other motivation, too, he said. What was that? I'll keep it to myself. Skubal on trade rumors. I'm not going to comment on that. I won't. I'm going to keep those to myself, too. End quote. So, gentlemen, we've had Lynn been subtweeting and telling everybody that there's changes to come. There's all sorts of smoke signals everywhere. Where the hell to start?
Well, it's the first time he's probably ever been attached to these kind of things, right? So if he's a little shook up or nervous about it or upset about it, that's probably understandable. But if he continues to pitch well, it's always going to be attached to him if he's a marketable asset.
I don't know if Chris froze or not. It looks like he's froze. But it's one of those things where I look at it as, and I was sitting next to Trevor Huth during the whole series, and I don't think there's any validity for him to be traded. I like to believe there's not, and maybe just today was one of those days where he just got fired up after the errors. And there you are, Chris. So, what were your thoughts about that whole thing? Oh, he's still.
I don't know if he hears us.
I don't know if he can hear us or not either. It's just this pale look on his face. No, but it's a thing where I think that he got maybe caught up in the moment, and it all stems from what happened at the Athletic, but an article that came out by Ken Rosenthal, who basically said everybody on the Tigers is available, essentially,
sure.
And he's been told. And we even saw that this week with this is the last time Michael Fulmer, Evan Petzold said something about that. And then there's Joe Jimenez, who there was 10 scouts in attendance last night. And of course, we've talked about this numerous times, Yooper. There's scouts at every damn game.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So if the scouts can be more pronounced, I don't know. But nevertheless, yeah, there's scouts at every game. So
yeah. I mean, it's this is the time of year people want to look for those polo shirts and radar guns and get a little excited about it, and that's cool. Well, here's what's going on, Raj. They need to trade Skubal for arms so that in 2024 they can trade green for bats. Or no, green for arms. They need Skubal for bats so they can trade green for arms down the road. It makes a lot of sense when you think about it. They're just kind of keeping things nice and even for the next couple of years.
You know what it reminds me of? It's like tilting the soil. That's what it is, Yooper. We're just rotating the dirt in and out, in and out, in and out. Beyond ridiculous. And then there's a play today where, and this was something that I think it capitalized how he felt today. And what's funny is it was only the Padres broadcasters that noticed this. Of course, the Tigers wanted no part of this whatsoever. Or I'm not sure if the Tigers, if Bally Sports Detroit noticed this or not and just chose not to do it. I don't know. I like to, yeah. I know, and you know what? Word Vango on YouTube. No, you're right. He's human. I'm not making a big deal out of this. Quite frankly, it's good. He should be fired up.
Sure.
There's no for this thing that just people that go, well, it shouldn't be. He's a major league pitcher and he should be not fired up. But I mean, look, you extended yourself extra today over a moment where you didn't have to. And here's some anger right there.
Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah.
He's not the first, won't be the last.
Yeah.
That happens. That's just emotion. He's a young guy. I mean, it's not like he's a cagey old veteran who's been through this a million times. He's in year 2. And that's why I think it's okay for him to make some extra comments about being traded, even if it's kind of veiled stuff, He probably doesn't want to be traded. He likes those guys he's with, and he's had his initial success with Detroit, and he's like, why do you want to deal me? And that's okay, if that's what's going on. Now, does it make sense to trade him? I get boring with it, but I always say it every year at the trade deadline. Tell me what I'm turning down first. Okay? I mean, obviously everybody has a price, but in the grand scheme, it's probably not the greatest idea to trade Tarik Skubal. But at the same time, if the Seattle Mariners wanted to overpay for him, then you got to look at it. It's going to be an interesting week.
Yeah, as the Tigers head to Toronto, the only one that will not be joining the Tigers in Toronto will be Andrew Chafin, and he explained his reasons on Twitter, and that's his right. He can do whatever he wants. He's a human being, and to each their own. And I don't understand why people rag on people for whatever decisions they make with their health. But nevertheless, the Tigers did take 2 out of 3 from the Padres, and it was much needed. A good series came from Jeimer Candelario, who against Oakland, look, let's not mince words here. He looked awful.
Yeah.
Defensively, glove. I mean, in terms of even his bat, he's been swinging a lot of bad pitches. He's been very consistent. People have been calling for him to designate for assignment. Of course, got to take those with a grain of salt because everybody's somehow, some way, every fan's been mad at some player this year. But there was honestly, this week was nice. He raised his batting average from 193 to 215. Again, nothing groundbreaking, Yooper, but it was good to see, especially when the Tigers needed somebody else to step up other than essentially Harold Castro, who was on an 11-game hitting streak, which I did not know until today. I mean, it's just he's been
very quiet.
Yeah, hitting Harold, but I don't know if this helps his Candelario stock value or what, but it just seemed, again.
Well, it's going to be an interesting thing. I mean, can someone inflate their trade value enough in 10 days to get back on the market? This will be a good test of it if he continues to hit over the weekend in Toronto. The thing about it is last year and the year before during the COVID year, he hit well and he was a productive player. You don't lead the American League in doubles by accident. It was hard to believe that he just in the off season became a bad baseball player. So whether he was just in a rut or he had some kind of injury we don't know about, or whatever, confidence problem, it's good to see him coming out of it. You had to feel that he's young enough that he wasn't going to just, become DFA material, that it was just a bad couple of months. And we'll see if he continues to, hit a couple homers and get a couple more doubles. The swing looks good. He looks very aggressive. He looks like he's not pulling off the ball. Been fun to watch.
All right, Chris, welcome back there.
Hey, thank you. Sorry. Hopefully, I'm.
Oops.
You good?
No.
There we go.
No.
Oh, no, you're good? Yeah.
No. My internet keeps cutting in and out.
Ah.
Let me try.
No, we're just talking. Okay, we were just talking about the Tigers over the week against the Padres. We saw some good stuff from Candelario. Well, also again, Harold Castro with 11-game hitting streak, kind of quietly doing his thing. I don't know if there's any other players you want to highlight there. I mean, the bullpen did a really good job. They were able to shut down the Padres. What I did see today was Fernando Tatis Jr. yesterday, rather, doing hitting practice, just lasering some balls. I think he might be coming back here next few weeks. I'm not sure, but on the injury front, officially, the Tigers announced that Kyle Funkhauser and Spencer Turnbull was going to maybe throw this year, but he's now not going to. And who's the other? I'm thinking of drawing a blank now. Alex Fideo is out with a hip problem, so he will not be pitching the rest of the year. And we kind of expected that, Yooper. I didn't really, especially when it's something from the hip like that. You use so much of your lower body for that, but
agreed. And I think that is a lot of those lower body injuries. If they start favoring part of that, then they hurt their arm. That's an issue too. So with the Tigers, 20 games under 500 or almost, there's no reason to rush him back. Just get it fixed. He looked good. They look like there's something to build on. Bring him back next spring and see where we go.
Yeah, and speaking of where we go, tonight down in Toledo, Matt Manning was pitching. Yeah, Matt Manning had a really good outing here, and there you go, Chris.
Yeah, you know what? I don't with my, so I just went with the phone, which I'm not used to. But
okay.
So yeah, I apologize. Hopefully, I'm coming in okay now, and you can hear me and you can see me.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
is there
a lot of people using the internet out your way. No.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean maybe.
I don't know. You hear anything?
No.
Ah, that's right. Okay. No, we're just talking about down in Toledo tonight in his rehab start. Matt Manning, 5 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Pretty good outing. The closer of the future, by the way, Derek Law will be. Can't even say it with a straight face. By the way, it was not me that said that. It was Lynn Heading. That Derek Law will be part of the taxi squad. That is. Oh man! Oh.
I mean, so we joke about Lynn. Lynn's pushing the Tarik Skubal trade narrative.
I'm not making fun of Lynn for just that phrasing. Derek Law is a future closer. Go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
No, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. And then suddenly he's on the taxi squad. Brian Garcia is back to start. He's been.
Wow.
They've used him as a starter a couple times in Toledo, but yeah, I mean, this is where we're at. This is where you're at in year 6+ of the rebuild, right? You got Harold Castro batting third and playing first base.
And pitching.
Brian Garcia coming up to start. And
dead. This is the garbage you give me.
And you're talking about trading your best homegrown starting pitcher since Justin Verlander. So good place to be.
Okay, Chris, if they can get Gabriel Marino and Orelvis Martinez for Skubal, do you do it?
Yeah, I consider that. Orelvis Martinez has kind of cooled off in Double-A. I mean, I put up my fake. I did a fake trade piece on Skubal today that had I looked at what the Dodgers and the Mariners and the Cardinals could provide. Skubal isn't untouchable by any means, but it's just incredibly frustrating, right, for anybody, and including Skubal. And I'm sure you guys already discussed all this, and it's my ugly for good, bad, and ugly anyway, so we don't have to rehash it too much. But I imagine when you have been coming up through the system, and they've probably been telling you, like, hey, you're a core part of the future, you and Mize and Manning and Green and Torp, you guys are going to be the foundation for this next contender. And you come up and you pitch your ass off, and you you fix your main deficiency, which is giving up home runs, and you go out there and they suddenly say like, yeah, we'll trade them. I imagine that puts a little a burr in your saddle, right? Isn't that a phrase that people use for some reason?
Oh yeah.
Doing the Pony Express days.
And we've talked about it privately, Raj, that I've always thought that there's a little bit of Scherzer and Tarik Skubal. And Max Scherzer wasn't a psychopath when he was in his second and third year either. He probably had it in him, but he hadn't earned the right to go absolutely nuts on the mound yet. But Skubal has, I think, that kind of inner burning desire to win. And I think he's got stuff that is pretty comparable to Scherzer. And Scherzer was one of the two people I could come up with in my trade piece of comparable talent and experience with more than 4 years of team control remaining who got traded. It just doesn't happen. Teams don't do that. They almost always wait until a pitcher has 2 years of team control remaining just because. So the trade talk is kind of wild. And like, as I said, it's very ugly. It's ugly to me because nothing about it is good, but I do like making fake trades. So here we are.
Yeah, I love that too. But so I hear you saying it's not unfathomable that they could trade him. It's just unbelievable. The organization is in a spot where they have to consider it. Is that kind of
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Absolutely.
And the one thing that I'll say, and this is, I'm taking a bit of a cue from Kieran on the Turning the Corner pod with Cody. He mentioned, and he was talking to his dad, I think, and he said, the mistakes of today are the result of things that happened like 3-4 years ago. And I think that's absolutely true. We've talked about it before, but I think Avila's, you have to make 100 different mistakes to end up in a spot like this. But I think Avila's fatal mistake was not changing the development staff until last August, until late in year 5 or 6, basically. And still keeping the same international scouting staff around. Like we like Roberto Campos, we like Christian Santana, we like Manuel Sucera, but it's too little too late. They needed those guys now. They needed those guys to show up and sign 4 years ago. So they'd be almost ready now. And it's just not happening. And Avila is paying the price for mistakes he made 4 and 5 years ago. In with the ones that everybody always talks about, the Verlander trade and the JD Martinez trade, but it's everything. He didn't get it done 4 years ago, and now it's happening to him.
Look, let me just say this, and we got some people in this room that I know for a fact who watch a lot of Tigers baseball. Tarik Skubal is the first left-handed pitcher of value that they've drafted since Justin Thompson. We're talking 20 plus years or so. Think about it for a moment. Think about this for a moment. You got a guy with that kind of stuff who reminds you, to me at least, he reminds you of Randy Johnson because of the same makeup, like the fastball. He has the slider stuff. He's got a good pitch mix, and he has gone out there. The Tigers have been able to make him a weapon. And then I understand what Lynn was saying in a sense, but the only thing I didn't understand what he said was like he was insulting. Fans felt like he was insulting their intelligence, saying, well, they're going to quickly forget if they trade Tarik Skubal, whoever does it is going to be praised. And I hate to say it, but he's kind of right, because what's going to happen is it depends, of course, on the return, but they're just like, well, Al Avila didn't make that trade. We'll be fine to a certain extent. But to me, I think it makes the Detroit Tigers a laughable organization, a laughing stock, that they're here right now at this point you've lost all these injuries. And look, okay. And Michael Meyer, look, I agree with you. You prepare. There's no way. Here's how you prepare for it. You draft better. You make key free agent signings. You don't sign a guy off of surgery. We don't sign Ivan Nova, who's been already pretty much his arm's done. You make smart decisions. You make smart trades. And you get somebody that's not pitching in a Florida fucking state league right now, pardon my language, in Franklin Perez, or complex league. It's laughable. Well, I can't defend this anymore. I mean, for God's sake, it's the fact that we're sitting here having this conversation. is outright ridiculous. You can't. No, you're right. You cannot prepare for all the injuries, but you could do things better. You could, and you know what? And Troy, I agree with you on this. He's in our YouTube chat. He says if we trade Skubal, that'll be sad because it symbolizes another rebuild. Or rather just sign free agents and try to get back in the running next year. And you know what? I don't know if the Tigers will do that because they did this year, but they didn't spend enough. They didn't want to go the extra mile to get Correa. They didn't. And I like the Baez signing. I did. But they didn't go the extra mile for Correa. And the kind of reputation goes around. I mean, for a while, look at the Lions, for example. I mentioned this is because this is a parallel. Deion Sanders didn't want to come to the Lions. There's teams that kind of have this thing about like, oh, I don't want to come here because it's not because of Detroit. Oh, Detroit sucks. And it's not like that. It's the way the franchises ran.
Well, for me, it goes back to the offseason prior to the COVID year when they didn't go after Springer. They didn't go after Real Muto. They just basically sat it out, until the very end and brought in the leftovers. And you wonder why there's no bats and there's no depth. How do you end up with the worst offense in baseball, which is, what they have now? If they're going to bring in bats, they're going to have to, they have to either trade Skubal to find 2 or 3, or they're going to have to dip into free agency next year. The free agency market doesn't look fantastic, but you can find some semi-productive hitters. And again, for improvement's sake, the Tigers they've been so far below acceptable at so many points in the lineup. They just need to get a few average bats, and they would see an uptick in a heartbeat.
Yeah. What are you gonna say, Chris?
Yeah, and we talked about it. We talked about it a ton of times. I was trying to weasel back in on my computer, and it was still iffy. We talked about it a ton. Like even with all these injuries, the starting pitching has largely survived. Oh, did you lose me again?
Yeah, you broke up there for a minute.
There
we go.
All right, sorry.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Go ahead.
All I was saying is we've talked about it before. The pitching's been largely fine. It's not been the main issue this year. The bullpen's been great, really. It's somehow they have just it speaks to a multitude of things. It's why I have Grossman and Scope and Candelaria from the state. But why have they all regressed so badly? Why was there nobody in the system to say, hey, special swing is the word to major level? Why was there no one to do that? Like what? It's just it speaks to. It might sound a little bit like talking out of both sides of their mouth.
Oh, so we lost him there. He was
okay.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of got the gist. What you saying? Why wasn't there someone to scream from the mountaintops that Torkelson might have some issues, right? That maybe he's not ready. Maybe we need to get a first baseman in here just in case. There's a systemic problem for sure offensively in the entire organization. Now they have a couple guys at the lower levels who are starting to hit, but nobody who's knocking on the doorstep for next year. That's the problem. So that's, I think, where the Skubal talk, as much as everybody hates the idea of it, if they were able to get Jared Kelenic and that Arroyo kid from Seattle, those are 2 guys you probably put in your lineup next year and hope for the best. And maybe Meadows comes back and now you got an outfield. I don't know. But then you got a big old hole of Tarik Skubal. So it's a mess. You have to see what the offer is. I still don't believe they'll pull the trigger on Skubal, but it is amazing that it's being talked about.
And Troy does bring up a good point. They do need more better lefty bats because they struggle against righties. But I saw this earlier today on Twitter, and it was interesting. I'm not sure. Where he got the data, but probably from Baseball Savant and doing the math. And this gentleman is at Twitter at TI Tyran 711, and he put up the bat path of every single batter this year for the Tigers. And I thought there was some really good information. This ties into perhaps some of the hitting problems. But if you're watching us on YouTube, I'll put the link in the show. If you're listening to us on the podcast, we'll put the description for this tweet, and I'll probably put the graphic in there. For those watching at YouTube, on YouTube rather, I don't know why I can't talk tonight. But yeah, here's some interesting data. And so Chris looks like he moved. Oh, Bullocks. Looks like Chris moved. I'll try and get Chris back on here. There we go. Hey, Chris.
Yeah, I moved to the couch. We're hoping that maybe that does anything, but
Yeah, you sound good now.
Yeah, you sound yeah.
I don't
So
know.
I was showing that data, by the way. I don't know if you saw the bat path data today.
No, I didn't.
All right, so we're talking about the hitting struggles of the hitters and what have you. And I was sharing this, and this is a gentleman who tweeted this out earlier. How the Tigers have been able to mess up the bat path of every hitter on the roster, and it's just go by degrees. And yeah. So I don't know if you can see that or not, Chris, but yeah, I mean everybody's down, everybody. So
the vertical interesting.
Yeah, so Baez went from 30 to 28.2, Cabrera 34.4 to 31.1. And this is all in degrees, of course. And so, yeah. But for those
It
on the
has been a mind-numbing year.
Yeah.
You had to know there was some volatility. I was on Twitter with a couple guys who write for other teams last night, and they were talking about Baez being volatile up and down every year. And that's true. I think we knew there were chances of him going in a lot of different directions because he's done that. And they said Meadows. And I didn't think Meadows was fair because he's had the vertigo, COVID, double Achilles problem, which you don't see very often and hope we never see again. But then after those two, it's just amazing how, you just list off Scope, Candelario, Grossman, Badu, who went from contributing to at a fair clip last year to nothing. It's just it was really hard to see that coming, and it just leaves so much to fix next year. How it all went that wrong.
So that bat path stuff is fascinating, and I don't know how to measure that stuff, but I trust that other people do. But to me, that I'm skeptical. That's what it is, because making swing changes is very difficult. We know that for years, right? Guys have a hard time altering their bat path. And you would think if after, I don't know, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months of it not working, they would go, hey, you know what, guys, just go back to your old swing. You know, the one we had last year, the one you've had for your whole life. To me, that almost strikes as like there's a problem with the measurement more than the players.
Wrong.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe maybe that guy can clue me in on it more. And if that's the issue, then hire that guy as the hitting coach, because at least he knows what's going on. But it's hard for me to believe that so many players would have made this change and not said anything about it,
except for Robbie Grossman.
Well, he complained that the park was making him swing different, right?
Yeah.
And again, you're a baseball player. You revert to your old habits if you start sucking. That's kind of what athletes do. But whatever. In any event, it all sucks and it's all bad.
Yeah,
today, they won. They did win today.
Yeah, look, and that's what I was going to try to say. Look, I've been level-headed, and the Tigers did beat a over 500 team. A good one. I mean, but then again, we don't know how good the Padres really are, but we saw that today that their bullpen absolutely blows.
And of course,
series.
If you got a job to do, you give it to Vic freaking Reyes.
Yeah. Well, he made a really nice catch earlier too. And like I said, there's a couple things it sounds like doom and gloom, but I series win. They're 40-59, so they're not 20 games under 500. So that's a positive. We take that away. We can take away the continued progress of Reilly Green, who had a really good at bat last night in the ninth. I thought his at bat adjusting that slider was really good, and thought able to. And Cody made a good comment about it, but the same thing. I thought basing him making those adjustments like that on the fly and recognizing that was good. And we saw Willie Castro, and Harold Castro's also got 11-game hitting streak. I'm sorry, it was Harold Castro who's quietly going about his season. He had that error today at first base, but overall, subbing in at first base, he hasn't been playing too bad. So again, I'm not trying to tell you this is a whole plate of crap. A lot of it is, and you should be frustrated. Any fan out there with that, and by the way, the hashtag Fire Vila thing last night, I didn't really. I mean, it was the chance for firing Vila went after something you could hear, but then people started going Detroit basketball towards the beginning of the 8th inning, I believe in the 9th inning. So,
Okay.
And also here's the thing too: the protest signs I got from a source. Really, some of them actually liked it. Like I was talking to Adam from Woodward, the morning show, and he brought in a sign that said, "I love Avila," and then Millen equals Avila. He didn't get in trouble for it, but someone in the can't say who it was, but somebody in the media put out what the requirements were to, like about taking a sign in, what have you, and then they were told to take it down.
Interesting.
Or somehow they got in trouble for it. But anyway,
I don't know. I think I mentioned to you. I think apathy is probably worse than anger, right? And
Yeah.
everybody now is talking about Pistons jerseys and Lions training camp. And once this trade deadline is over, nobody's going to talk about the Tigers except us. It's just going to be us.
Yeah,
That's true.
By the way, Parker Meadows is a 4-hit game tonight,
including a home run.
Yeah, the snow cone part. Look, what makes me here's what I get frustrated about. Again, the team play, but when I look at our download numbers, and we were doing really well, and this team was doing really well, and then they drop back down but we have a loyal audience, which I appreciate so much. But come on, just give us something to work with, please, for the love of Christ.
Maybe,
you know what I mean? Like,
have we considered that maybe we're the problem? Maybe it's us doing a podcast that has caused the Tigers to suck so much. Maybe if I move to a different spot on the couch, the Tigers will start winning.
Well, you just did. So
yeah.
There you go. Then believe in that witchcraft there, Chris. You're not believing in logic.
Rumors.
Yeah, blood right, man. We appreciate everybody. Like I said, I appreciate everybody listening and our fans of the show. The questions. We got a lot of questions to get to. We should get to our segments too. We have a lot to get to tonight. But I feel better venting, and fans have every right to vent. Some of the stuff, though, I mean, it was funny when Eric Haas had that home run. Doesn't matter. Fire Avila. Come on. Could you or somebody gets in or today Jackson Job was throwing. Oh, I should have Tommy John. Get bent. Seriously, get a life.
Well, it's coming for every pitcher, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, it's now time for Inside the Numbers. And what's great about tonight's Inside the Numbers is we also have a listener who gave us their Inside the Number. So go ahead, Yooper.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry. I think you were going to say something. But yeah, we'll get to his last, and then we'll get to him after yours, Yooper. So you go ahead and go kick it off.
All right, my numbers this week are 17, 11, and less than 1. Okay,
Less
than 1. Yeah,
stop, man.
St. Louis Cardinal middle infielder Tommy Edman, having kind of an under the radar excellent season. On base percentage way up from other years. Really a force for them. Leading MLB in defensive run saved with 17. Got this on from Mark Simon on John Doohan's site, Active Sports. 17 defensive run saves, 11 of them as a second baseman. So he's really been just a sure-handed guy, kind of anchoring that infield. What I liked was he's number one in MLB right now in misplays per 100 chances. He's the only one at less than one. He's a guy with good speed. He's getting on base, and he is patrolling the middle of the field for the Cardinals. And really been kind of a guy no one's really heard of coming up, but he's turned himself into a real good ball player.
All right, so we're gonna try this again, Chris. There we go. Does this work? No, unless you muted yourself. All right. See if we can still work through his technical difficulties there. All right.
Sorry.
Well, let me read. Oh, no, there you are. There you are. You good?
I dropped my phone on the.
Okay. So we have Mark, who regularly DMs us every week faithfully. So Mark, again, thank you. His inside the number, he has 7 and 134. 7 is the number of seasons under 500 for the Tigers the past 8 years, and 134 is the number of strikeouts Ohtani has this year. Good for 8th in all of baseball. So good inside the numbers. There we go. See, and that's all you have to do. Just give us your inside number each week. We'll read them on air. And I always like it could be any stat you find fascinating. It doesn't have to be about the Tigers. It could be about anybody. It doesn't matter. And so that's a good one.
Well, the first thing that pops in my mind is, have any other teams lost 7 of the last 8 years? You know, is that everybody else put together a 500 team once in there? Maybe the Pirates. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they didn't they make the postseason in 2015, 2016, I want to say. As a wild card, I believe.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's really been a wretched 3/4 of a decade.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have a video coming out eventually, and I put together a little slideshow type thing.
I'm almost done with it. By the way. I'm almost done.
And the only team with fewer wins since Alavila took over is Baltimore, and that's probably going to change here in the next month. So,
yeah. All right, Chris, what is your inside the number?
Mine is also 7, although it's a different. It's Jackson Job's new career high in single game high for strikeouts, which he set today. And it was fun because it's one of those rare opportunities we actually get to see him pitch, because they were in Bradenton, which is one of the 2 stadiums in Low A that have MILB TV cameras hooked up. And it's just one of the funny things to me is we always post Jackson Job's numbers after every start. And when we just post the numbers, invariably 90% of the comments are, he's a bust, this is awful, way to go, where's Marcelo Meyer, fire Avila, right? Every time.
Yeah.
Today, we were able to show highlights, show some of his pitches, made a video of his 7 strikeouts, made a video of his first inning. You put together a video of his whole outing. 90% of the comments today, wow, he looks awesome. Look at that stuff. That's amazing. Look, like, he's athletic. So many positive comments. And everybody's wrong all the time. All the people who complain, they're wrong. All the people who are super excited today, they're be excited. But when we show you, exactly. When we show you highlights, they're highlights. And so it's important to watch the whole video.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where you watch the whole video and you see all of what the Tigers liked in Jackson Jobe. You see multiple pitches, you see life, you see crazy ability, and then you also see how raw he is and how much more he has to work on and how bad Low A is. There was so much poor defense behind him and just bad execution that you got to really kind of ignore the numbers. I know it's tough. His ERA is still like 4.97 or something like that. Just be happy that he's out there pitching and he looks relatively healthy. Like he touched 97 several times today. He struck guys out with his fastball, his slider, and his changeup. And so just enjoy watching the clips, but realize this is a work in progress. And the Tigers either were kidding themselves or lying to us when they said he was as polished as Josh Beckett was, more polished than Josh Beckett was coming out of high school. It's not true. He's much more raw than that. But the talent is undeniable. So anyway, that's my inside the number 7.
That's a good one.
Yep.
So yeah, especially because what I liked about him today was even after those kind of calamity of errors, he was able to bounce back pretty well and give the Tigers technically the Flying Tigers was able to stay in there. The bullpen, however, was
We saw Tyler Madison. I think was the first time we've been able to see him on video too. And yeah, it was. I mean, it's ugly. Bradenton seems to beat up on Lakeland several times. But I will say, so anybody go on the YouTube channel and watching that video, there's a segment in there where somebody's on third base and Jackson Jobe actually picks him off. He throws to Isaac Pacheco, who's playing third, and Pacheco, they get him in a rundown, and Pacheco chases him way too far down the line to home before he throws, and then he runs into the guy as he turns around. So what's the call? What's the call, Yoop?
Obstruction.
There it is. Yep, obstruction. The run counted. Jackson Jobe picked this guy off, and because his best buddy Pacheco made a mistake, he cost him a run. But that's what I want people to look at is the subsequent 2 pitches that Jackson Jobe threw were absolutely perfect 97-mile-an-hour FU fastballs. You could tell he was pissed off, and you could tell he was able to harness it, and it was great. I mean, I guess the first one was 97, second one was 95, but they're perfect. So look for that. I think it was in the 3rd inning.
Yeah, it's on our YouTube channel under Tiger Mile Recap player recaps, and Perry's made a good description of his breaking ball today. It looked like he was throwing a wiffle ball because, especially how when the movement on that's a really good comparison, Perry. It was insane. Just the amount of just down and zip. I'm like it's
a pitch that almost breaks too much. That almost like the hitters can see it because it breaks so much. They're like, well, I can't hit that. But he will be able to harness that at some point, and it will be an absolute wipeout pitch for him, assuming he stays healthy.
Right. So I have 2 inside the numbers this week. Mine are 11 and 2.9. That would be the amount of strikeouts yesterday by Marlins pitcher Pablo Lopez, and the 2.9 is his WAR for the season. So everybody's been talking about Sandy Alcantara for the Marlins, and he's having a really good year. But when you can have 2 pitchers like the Marlins do that can give you, and he's got 118 strikeouts over 116 innings pitched. But here's Lopez, I think gets, to me at least, in my opinion, gets overshadowed a little bit because the rest of the Marlins rotation's been shaky at best, and Marlins still have really good. You talk about the Tigers pitching depth. The Marlins in their organization alone, they are very deep in pitching. But when you have players like, as far as 2 pitchers, you have a guy in Alcantara who's giving you a 5.6 WAR. 5.6 WAR. And then your second guy is doing 2.9. Hey, that's pretty damn good. And I really, again, the Marlins are kind of also a dysfunctional organization you saw Derek Jeter leave. You see Don Manley has a problem with Jazz Chisholm Jr. being flashy and all these weird BS crap. Anyway, but they are stocked the brim in pitching. And I just wanted to highlight Lopez because I think he deserves some props.
Lopez. One thing that I stumbled across while I was looking for pitchers like Skubal to get traded was, and I came across Nathan Ivaldi when he was traded from the Marlins to the Yankees. And I believe that was the trade. And the Yankees gave the Marlins David Phelps and Martin Prado, which didn't seem like a ton to me, but actually when you go back and look, they won the trade on WAR. And they also then later traded David Phelps to Seattle for Pablo Lopez. So I did not know that's where he came from. So
oh wow,
it ended up working out pretty damn well for the Marlins. As much as we talk about their dysfunctionality, every now and then they get one right.
Yeah, man, Seattle would love to have him right around now.
Yeah, sure.
It's one of those Trader Jerry things that the Pito is just probably regretting somewhere. Like, how the hell did I let him go? But yeah. Anyway, I just thought that we should give some more props to Lopez for that. All right, it's now time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Chris, what is the good, the bad, the ugly this week?
So my good is Ryan Helsley, who is somehow become this bullpen ace for the Cardinals. He was an all-star this year. I wonder where the hell I've been. But but like honestly, I'm supposed to be a baseball fan. I've never heard of this dude. And I was looking it up. He leads all relievers in WAR this year, 1.9 to F WAR, 2.0 baseball reference. He's got a .67 ERA and 60 strikeouts against 12 walks in 40 innings. So I was looking at, he's a 5th round pick in 2015 out of Northeastern State, which is, of course, in Oklahoma, because let's just be wrong about everything. And what's funny is the Tigers, he actually went 1 pick before the Tigers. The Tigers picked Cam Gibson. But Helsley made it to the big leagues in 2019, and he's been up ever since, but he wasn't very good for 3 years. Like, he was okay his first year, very average the last 2 years. And then I don't know what the hell happened this year, but, he's gone nuts. His fastball has gone up from an average of 97.5 to 99.1. His strikeout rate has jumped from 23% to 41%. His walk rate has dropped from 13 to 8. And the whiff rate on his four-seam fastball has gone from 15% to 33%. So, yeah, he's very good, apparently, and I don't know who he is. So, again, there you go. My bad is
Phillips Motors? What are you, a dirty car salesman?
No.
I had it queued up, and now I lost it.
What was
I was trying to say, who's that dude?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I feel bad, but he's been insane lately. My bad is Nick Castellanos, who, I think a lot of people saw that clip of that reporter being a jackass to him, asking him if he heard boos, but it's Philadelphia. You're going to get booed, and reporters are going to be jackasses, and he didn't have to answer the way he did, but I think the reporter really didn't have to ask it like that either.
I have the audio if you're up. If I have the audio, if you want me to play it.
If you want to, go ahead.
All right. See here.
Did you hear the blues there when we struck out and they played the game there?
No, man, I lost my hearing.
So you didn't hear it?
Come on, man, it's a stupid question.
Why is it a stupid question?
Can anybody else answer that for him? Anybody? Yeah, man, that's a stupid question.
It's not a stupid question. If it's a stupid question, you should be equipped to answer it.
All right.
I did answer it.
All right. The answer
You should be able to answer a stupid question.
we got the
But
answers.
that
We're
doesn't mean
good.
that I can't say that's a stupid question.
It wasn't a stupid.
It was a stupid question, you idiot. It was. Of course, you heard it.
I mean,
Go ahead.
it's not the world's worst question, but obviously, you can. You're looking for some sort of confrontation there. I think you could word it and say,
Yeah.
hey, how hard is it to deal with striking out like that and hearing all the boos?
Yeah.
Just like baseball players, I'm sure some baseball players are completely oblivious to everything around them, but athletes are people and they do hear things for the most part, outside of Curtis Pride. But but anyway, what I was saying though is that over the last month, Castellanos is hitting 228 with 1 home run, 2 walks, and 27 strikeouts, while playing his usual brand of poor to awful defense. So that's worth that's like a what's his WRC plus, a 48 WRC plus and negative 0.7 WAR, and on the year he's got a negative 1.4 WAR. He has been, for as much as we complain about Javi Baez or Eduardo Rodriguez disappearing, Castellanos has been the worst free agent signing of the year so far.
Wow.
And that's bad.
Well,
He'll probably come out of it eventually, but
by the way, we have to give some context to who Curtis Pride is for the younger people in the audience, because I have his Wikipedia pulled up real quick because I always want to find it on the fly. Curtis Pride, by the way, was a former Tiger outfielder who actually bat over 300 for the Tigers. Amazing story. And he was deaf. He was a deaf player, so that's why Chris said it, and that's why I lost my stuff, because I thought that was funny. But anyway, continue.
Courageous young guy.
Yeah, really good guy.
Amazing story. Really, being deaf in any, like the blind skiers. What the hell's wrong with them? Like, it's insane to me. It's amazing, but how are you?
There's blind skiers, really?
You've never seen that?
No.
They're blind skier. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. I'd love to think that if I were blind, I would do something like that, but I absolutely wouldn't. I'd be playing Braille video games. So, and my ugly was the Skubal talk. So we can probably skip over that. It's just a bummer to me because he's one of my favorite players on this team, and I like to think about him being on the team for a long time. But I get it, and this is what I was going to try to say before the first 4 times I got kicked off my internet was that I understand there's a little bit of talking out of both sides of our mouth here because there's a lot of hindsight about not trading Matthew Boyd in time and not trading Castellanos in time and not trading Michael Fulmer in time. But I still think it's too early, man. It's too early to be even considering that. He's too good and too young, and he's got too much control left to just trade him now because you did a bad rebuild. So anyway.
All right, Yooper, what is yours?
All right, on the good, dip down to the Tiger system. Wenzel Perez, he's on the IL right now. I guess he's got a little bit of a back problem, but they don't think it's serious. Of course, we've heard that before. But really interested to see the slash line at Erie through 30 games. 319, 394, 584. All year we kind of watching him just from afar, looking at the numbers, just trying to get a sense what he's doing, because it's such a stark improvement from where he's been the last couple of years.
Well, it's good.
I keep getting drawn to that slugging percentage. 584 right now at Erie. It was pretty high at West Michigan too. At least from not seeing him every day, which obviously I don't. If you're carrying a slug like that, he's not dinking and dunking his way to this with a lot of bleeders finding its way through the infield. He's got to be making some pretty nice contact. So is it real? I have no idea. I've certainly not seen him enough. I've seen video a couple times. That's about it. But I'm drawn to that slugging percentage. You guys have seen him more. I don't know what your comments on that are.
It's interesting you should say that. Matt wrote a great article about it.
Yeah, I there is some loft in his swing. It's something that I was talking to Trevor Huth about. That among some of the Tiger, and there, by the way, I put the article on our YouTube discussion. By the way, I did not realize I changed one thing about the website. All of a sudden, the whole thing changed. But whatever, short attention span for a minute. But no, look, I think that there's something to be said that he might have figured out more loft on his swing, which is where I think the what's going on with that. But at the same time, in terms of him, the big difference between him and from last year to this year, he's not topping the ball as much. I mean, what I'm saying is he's not a lot of balls last year. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. I felt like there were a lot of grounders to short and third, not a lot of air contact. And if there was, maybe it was a dink, like you would say, Yooper. It was just kind of like what was it? Jim Price would say a duck snort or something of that effect. But now everything's with hard contact, and he's showing his very good base running as well. He's smart as far as his back's been an issue for a while, from my understanding. So it was just kind of something that lingered, and they're just going to give him he's on the 7-day IL along with Eric De La Rosa for the Seawolves.
Nice. Yeah, it's been really kind of fun to track that especially when the major league team has been so terrible. My bad, speaking of backs, is Mike Trout. The announcement came out today that he has a rare back condition that will probably have to be monitored and managed his whole career. That was a lousy thing to hear. He's, what do you say about Mike Trout at this point? One of the greatest players of the last few decades, but he's been stuck out on a team in California that we don't get to see much, that has had very little success. And now here he is with a back problem that's probably going to, at least, I'm not saying it's going to finish him by any stretch. They're not saying that. But you got to believe it's going to limit him when they're saying they're going to manage the issue. You never want to hear that word. I'm going to be managed when it comes to an injury. So, it's almost to the point where he's getting into that Ernie Banks level where he's never going to be in the postseason, but he's going to have all this wonderful regular season success with really great numbers. So really a bummer, because when you do stay up late to watch him back in his prime, especially when those first couple of years, really was a force of nature to watch. But he's wearing down. My ugly, I know I talk about him a lot, but Ronald Acuna, the last 30 days hitting 214 with 5 RBIs, 327 on base. He just hasn't come back from that ACL injury. He's hitting a lot of balls on the ground. Not a home run threat right now. I'm wondering if the Braves need to get him out of that leadoff spot and get him somewhere else in the lineup just to see if they can shake things up for him. But it's not been a very productive year for Ronald Acuna. the Braves are going to need him down the stretch. So we'll see what August brings for him if he can shake out of it. That's what I got.
Good one. And the Braves have been carried a lot by their pitching this year. I feel like it's been much more prevalent than it was last year. They're getting some really, really strong performances from their rotation. Spencer,
Strider.
Max Fried.
There's a video game called Strider that came out for the Sega Genesis and Nintendo.
Yeah, Strider was a fun game. Also, Strider was it Aragorn's nickname early on in the Lord of the Rings? If we're to get nerdy, wasn't he called Strider? You
lost me. You lost me there.
Austin Reilly has been bonkers for the last month too. He was a guy that I noticed. He's hitting like 450 with 10 home runs over the last month.
Well, they also they called up that Michael Harris, and he's been great. So if they did take Acuna out of the one hole, they probably could move him up, move Harris up there because he's been hitting some home runs. He's been on base and stealing some bags.
So my good this week also involves the minor leagues. As I like I said, trying not to have the doom and gloom feel to the podcast as I try to point out the good, what is going on around the Tigers and what have you. So with that though, I know I've been going to Erie a lot, but I've been watching. Truth of the matter is I've been watching a lot of Erie, and a gentleman I've been watching the entire time on his way up from Erie is Kerry Carpenter. And the reason why I want to mention Kerry Carpenter is I admit I still think, again, at this point, why not? You have to see what he's capable of. And so his AAA numbers have been better. He's at a walk rate. He is now walking better than his strikeout rate. He has a 12% walk rate to 11% K rate. And his WRC plus in 21 games, you guys want to take you want to hold on a second. You want to where do I find it?
Take a guess.
What his WRC plus is
in Toledo?
Yeah.
Let's see. I know he's got 5 home runs. He's walking a lot more in Toledo than he was. I would bet it's like 165.
Wrong.
I think I bet it's outrageous. I'll bet it's like 211.
Wrong.
I mean,
all right.
A lot of numbers we can guess.
All right. Well, I just want to use that drop as much as possible. No, his WRC plus. You were close though, Yooper. It was 198. 198, and he's slugging at a 686 clip right now. So what I like about that is that we've seen growth from Erie, and that's another example of we saw Winfield Perez and Parker Meadows, who is also part of my good. I'll get to you in a second. But that kind of growth, it especially in a season where for the Tigers right now, where there's not much you can hang their hat on in terms of actual hitting prospects right now. At the moment, I mean, we could talk about Josh Crouch, who had an opposite field home run tonight, and Chris was just like going around like Breakfast Club, like, don't you forget about me at the end when he's just like this. He has fist up right now. He is so pumped for Josh Crouch right now.
Sure. It's nice to see him.
Sure, Roger. Yeah, no, but there's been a lot of talk about the pitching, but to see Kerry Carpenter, somebody asked what Lloyd McClellan's doing down there. Certainly not giving him hitting advice. Boom. That was bad, because everybody talks about how bad hitting coach he was, but outside of that, it's nothing to do with. I just think Carpenter continues to evolve, and the other part of my good is Parker Meadows. Same thing. He's walking at a higher rate than he did at West Michigan. He's walking around a 9% clip, and he's got now 8 home runs, and on the season that gives him a total of 12. So again, what is Parker Meadows? When he's going to get a call up to Toledo? I think in the next 2 weeks. So we should do a bet among everybody who's listening on the podcast side and on the YouTube channel. Give us give us a number of how many different Tiger prospects that are going to be hitters that we'll get a chance to we'll see here in the next month or next 3 weeks rather? How many new Tigers you expect to see? I'm going to go right now and say 5. I think there's going to be 5 new Tigers hitting wise by August 3rd, August 4th. That's what my guess is. Chris, off the top of your head.
So 5 new. You're talking like just regular members of the lineup.
Yeah, regular members of the lineup. 5.
I'll go 3. I think. I don't know. It's tough. Like I feel like there's some guys they probably want to take a look at before the season ends. Like Brendan Davis, he's on the 40 man. He plays third base. He plays the outfield. They might want to get a look at him in various places. I could see them calling up Carpenter because they're probably gonna have to add him to the 40 man. Who the hell knows? Parker Meadows, Winslow Perez probably gonna get added to the 40 man too. Maybe they'll call them up. I don't know. I think we're gonna see some guys. There are gonna be some randos on this team later, going into September. They're the Matt Den-Deckers of the world that show up for like 3 games, right?
It's gonna be a Jamie Westbrook appearance for some strange reason.
Yeah.
You actually that's yeah.
Would it be funny if they traded Candelario and Brendan Davis starting at third?
I mean, if you would wonder if somebody offers them something for Candelario right now after watching him this last week, if they go, sure.
Taking
Yeah,
notes.
we talked about that earlier. Can he hit his way into having a market by just having about 10 days of production? Yeah.
Of course, I don't remember if you heard us talking about scouts being there, and because they were saying, "Oh, there's 10 scouts on there today." It's like, well, there's scouts every game.
Yeah, that's always the old. They're there every game. They don't put cameras on them until there's like 2 weeks before the trade deadline. They go, "Look at this."
Do you guys think Kreidler gets a shot?
It's possible.
Yeah.
They have to add him to the 40 man as well, and he's a guy that I'm certain they will. He would probably, honestly, I don't know if he would get a chance before Davis or not. Like I said, Davis is already in the 40 man, but yeah, I mean, there are a handful of guys that they're probably going to add to the 40 man. So, every now and then they just, beat it by, like Garrett Hill was a guy who they could have, was a guy who may have been added this year. They could have added him last year, but they needed him, so they brought him up. So a lot of it is based on need, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we could see guys like Derek Hill go elsewhere too. They have to come and make a decision about a lot of players. So it's going to be a fun time here in the next couple of weeks. We're gonna be doing we're gonna be doing a recap of everything and for all the changes and yeah. So, but as far as my bad is concerned this week, so Carlos Rondon in the dugout with the bat was pretty funny. It was also it's not bad. I just thought it was amusing. But as far as the terms of the bad month of July would go, maybe Joe Smith has seen better days ahead of him. Joe Smith and Shane Green rather, who is up with New York. The bullpen situation right now is so bad in New York that Shane Green, I don't know if that's bad, quote unquote, but Shane Green's getting an opportunity. But Joe Smith in the month of July, he's only gotten just 3 innings of work, but he's not the workhorse he has been. And he's producing a WAR of minus 0.14. And I like for the Twins right now, they need all the bullpen help they can get in order. The White Sox are over 500 now. So the White Sox might just pull it together and get their head out of their asses and win the division. So, but those to have those 2 teams in contention, to rely on kind of veteran arms like that, kind of surprised. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, the Yankees lost Michael King for the year, I believe, and so they are probably going to be in the market for that. My ugly this week really is as far as like sometimes I like last week my ugly was just like it's just a little bit of a nitpicking kind of thing, and in terms of the draft coverage because I thought it was really really bad. But I would say I think the bad was the fact that and this is actually, but in a good way or ugly, is the way that owners handled the whole international draft situation. They could not, it won't happen. The player, like the owner said they tried, and the player union was like, okay, again. And so it's still going to be the better teams who know their scouting, know what they're doing, will still continue to mine the talent and teams are not going to. I think teams like the Tigers, who still haven't yet to develop international talent on a consistent basis, will get a chance to be among that. So I think the way that was all handled again, it's just anytime that there's a sort of any type of stripe, any type of situation, it just gets ugly. And I didn't really think there was going to be an international draft, to be honest with you, but the whole way that went broke down was bad. So, or ugly rather. And that is my good and bad, the ugly for this week. And so, Chris, we have a boatload of questions to get to. So,
let's roll.
Yeah, let's roll. Let's roll through the questions.
All right. So did we get? Did Mark send us one in the?
Yes, he did. I got that. I had that pulled up right now, and we'll start with that one because we sometimes get. I don't want to forget Mark because Mark's a good listener. Do you take the over under of 3.5 bullpen guys who traded before the deadline?
I go under on that.
Yeah, I'd say under.
Yeah, I'm gonna go under too. I don't. I think the Tigers want to at least put a competitive product out there. I would think.
Well,
because I mean, if you're gonna call up Derek Law, then yeah, I'm not. God, I feel like I'm a dick for making fun of him, but I'm not making fun of him.
I think under 3.5, only because it's not that easy to make trades. I mean, you got to, it takes two to tango. You got to come up with the right names. You got to be both parties be satisfied. I think if they move 3, that's a pretty good week's worth of work at the deadline.
Yeah, I would set the over under at 2.5 because I think 2 are gone for sure, in Fulmer and Chafin, and then the after that it's like do they get an offer for Jimenez and Soto that they think is worth moving guys with multiple years of control. So
it's got to be good that the Padres have definite bullpen needs, and they saw some guys firing bullets this week.
Yeah,
they had to look good.
So I mean, yeah, if you're looking real quick, if you want to look at some of the as far as what the Padres have in their system, the Padres they don't have as much because of trades. Their system's been depleted. It's not what it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, tops, I would say. But I know that it would be funny is if people are suggesting, well, what about Will Myers? Well, he's out with knee inflammation, and no, and no, it'd be totally
Wrong!
It'd be a bad idea. So as far as that goes, but as far as their farm system goes, you have so what do you have here? Do you go after catcher Luis Campusano? I know how I haven't looked up his numbers, but he's in AAA for a reason. So then you go down to AA San Antonio, and you have to kind of look around a little bit. You know what's funny, by the way, is former Tiger Brandon Dixon is in AA San Antonio.
AA,
yeah. So go ahead.
The Padres do have some interesting guys. They've got Igai Rosario. I don't know if it's pronounced Igai, but and they've got Asterio Ruiz, who played in this series that you don't really know what you have there. Most people still think he's kind of a fourth outfielder at best, but he's the guy I mentioned. He was in my good earlier this year because he was putting up bonkers numbers in the minors this year. He had like 20 home runs and almost 50 steals.
He was hitting like 360 or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was just putting up crazy numbers. But again, like I don't think it's numbers over projection. But that's the sort of guy that you might take a chance on, and that the Padres might part with because he's not part of their future plans. So, yeah, I know they're an interesting guy. You shoot for the moon with C.J. Abrams, probably not going to get him. What about Weathers? Remember he was their first round pick. He hasn't been great. Certainly not in the majors, and I don't think he's been very good in AAA this year. Maybe you take a chance on a guy like that. It all depends on how desperate teams are, right? The more desperate they are, the more they're willing to give you.
And the Padres, by the way, we saw this guy pitch in Fort Wayne, Efrain Contreras, who is not off to a good start right down there, but he's in the 40-man roster. So I'm bound to think there's a reason why he is.
Well, I remember, was it Michel Baez or old former? I think he went down with Tommy John. I don't know if he's back yet, but that was like a big 6'8" dude who could really throw the ball hard. And who knows? He might be interesting. But
I heard they want to move Trent Grisham for the right guy, for the right price.
Yeah.
He had that great COVID year, and now he's been a little down the last couple of years, but he's still young enough and probably has team control.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have another guy, another interesting lefty who's Rule 5 eligible this year, in Asalio Hernandez, the Cuban lefty. And the Padres, by the way, have been a Cuban pitching machine the last few years. Okay. And that's me being a little biased. I'm not going to lie, but nevertheless. So, as far as the Padres go, Chris, go ahead and continue with the next. What's the next question?
All right, so we got a couple questions, basically along the same lines. Guy said, "Who would you aim for in a potential Skubal trade?" And Tom Lacombe said, "What would it actually take for the Tigers to trade Skubal, and why would they put that kind of message out? Seems like it would be tough on the guy hearing that he's expendable to his team so early after so much success."
It's so
Wrong!
We've discussed this already to a certain degree, but I will just point to people again to I wrote an article, a fake trade piece, where I have 3 different trade scenarios for Skubal, and essentially in all 3 scenarios you're getting, and you have to, I think you have to get at least 2 top 100 prospects, and in most cases you're talking like a top 30 prospect, and also some guys who are fringe big leaguers. I don't mean that as in like talent, but I mean like they're AAA, been there already to the big leagues and ready to help, because that's what a player of Skubal's talent and team control is worth. So I mentioned Jordan Walker. I don't think the Cardinals would do that, but if they don't, then tell them thanks, no thanks.
I've been looking at Seattle a lot. I know you did too. If they could get Jared Kelenic, if he needs a change of scenery, if they're tired of him, I don't know why they would be, but if they want to move him, plus I think his name is Edwin Arroyo, the shortstop. If you could get those 2 guys, now you got a center fielder and a shortstop. That's at least a little enticing.
Yep.
As far as for me, a team that I've revisited his team a little bit, but if you're going to trade Tarik Skubal, why not go to the Mets? The Mets have Ronnie Mercurio down in AA, who's got really good power numbers, and he's a guy. If you want a shortstop or even Brett Beatty, screw it, ask for him too. I mean, if you're going to trade a guy like that, Beatty, by the way, is a left-handed bat. He can play third and the outfield, and so that would be something that you could trade. I don't know. I think that would be a good bat to have in your system right now on the season. He has our WRC plus, and he's AA. I mean, he's got a WRC plus over 144. So if you're going to trade a guy like Skubal, ask for Beatty, ask for Mercurio. They need infield prospects anyways. Oh yeah, well that'd be Oh, definitely.
I mean,
but I just wanted to mention those other 2 names because I thought that those be worth. But those are some of the names that you should ask for, and it has some brass damn balls. Ask.
Here's the thing with him, and maybe this comes more for an off-season trade than an in-season trade. But Skubal's young enough with enough control. You don't necessarily have to be a contender this year to want him, right? I mean, pretty much what team couldn't use him? That's assuming everybody values him as much as like we do, Len Henning does, and you assume the Tigers do. Let's assume that interest is out there. Heck, why wouldn't Baltimore want him? If they're trying to build something for next year or whatever. I mean, just throwing that out there. Miami.
Oh, that'd be nice. But yeah, but what R1 versus J4 said in YouTube chat is correct. Trading Skubal is like throwing in the towel if L continues to do so. He ain't lying. Yep. All right, Chris, what's the next one?
So this one is from Michael Meyer, or Mayer. I apologize. What happens if Spencer Torkelson doesn't show improvement in AAA and never gets back to the majors in 2022? Do they have to bring in a free agent first baseman, or do they go in-house again? If you're selling a competitive team, it's hard to stay in-house.
He went 0 for 4 today.
Can Kerry Carpenter play first base?
I know people want that, but
can Eric Haas play first base?
Yeah, but you know what? There's an interesting record that came out today. The Tigers are over 500 when Eric Haas catches, and they're, I think, like 10 or 11 games under 500 when Tucker Barnhart catches.
Haas has got some things to like, man.
He's been having a really good last couple weeks.
Well, just to answer
him in the outfield more this year.
just to answer Michael's question, though, I mean, the good news there is, I mean, most years in free agency, there's a Luke Voigt, a CJ Cron, Rowdy Tellez, somebody like that who can go inhabit first base and crack 18 to 25 home runs. I mean, you should be able to find a guy, depending who the GM is.
Yeah, and I don't see the Tigers doing that necessarily. Going getting a guy like that. I could see them getting a Renato Nunez type, right? Somebody who can play first base and is sort of that fringe big leaguer. And if he wins the job in spring training, he wins it. But like I don't think they would put themselves in a position where some free agent wins the job at first base, and then Spencer Torkelson goes down and is mashing in AAA and it has no place to play. I don't see them doing that. I mean, they could use a DH too. They could use 1,000 things. So I don't think anything big would happen. But like I don't see them signing, Brandon Belt or Josh Bell, anything like that. Maybe.
So, whoever they got, it's got to have some positional versatility of something, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and maybe just maybe the other Wilmer Flores.
That'd be great.
He's all over the place. He's got a brother who is around and may make his big league debut next year, and I believe he's a free agent, right? Let's see. Yep, free agent 2023.
That'd be fun.
He's been a positive offensive player every year since 2016.
By the way,
Positive WRC plus.
I was gonna say, by the way, I like Christopher's idea that's actually not a bad idea anyway. Honestly, what he was saying, and the idea, by the way, for everybody listening to the podcast, if Torque provides it proves that he's a bust, they could play Young there. I heard first base might be in his future anyways.
Yeah, it's very possible that Jace Young ends up being a first baseman. He's we know he had some hip trouble toward the end of the year, which contributes to him not being terribly mobile. But he's just it's not like a quick twitch athlete there. He's got kind of a thick lower half, and he's only going to get bigger. So I could see him moving to first base. It's not great to think about Spencer Torkelson being a bust right now.
Yeah,
I'd rather not do that at this point. But
me neither.
But things happen, right?
I think they should get a veteran, though. I think they should get a veteran backup, or somebody who can play on a regular basis if Torque can't get together. I think Torque will, but yeah. All right, what's next, Chris?
Next one I see is Scott Upham said, things I'd like to hear. Best bets on Avila's firing date. A short list of new GM candidates. Areas of biggest long-term need. Realistic trades you like to see, future free agents that are fits for 2023. So there's a lot. That's basically five different discussion points there. And without a lot of research, I don't know if we can touch on those. Avila's firing date, I maintain that it's not going to be a firing. It's going to be a demotion by promotion. We've talked about that a bunch. My guess is that'll be coming in like late August, early September.
I can see it happening during the World Series, so it's just buried. The news just doesn't really resonate nationally. But you have to, I wrote back in May, he should not have his fingerprints on this draft. He did. He shouldn't have his fingerprints on this trade deadline. He's going to. But again, it all boils down, is he really calling the shots right now, or is he just a figurehead? We don't know for sure. But I think that the change will happen this winter, and World Series week seems like a good one.
Yeah.
I think the same thing. I think it's just gonna be a go put him quietly in the dark.
Out to pasture.
Yeah.
But yeah, GM candidates, we haven't really dug too far into that. I still don't think it'll be a complete overhaul. I think it will be an in-house thing. It'll probably be Sam Menzen. Other than that, our buddy Ghost always likes to talk about Will Rhymes, former Tigers, infielder, now current, I think, head of Dodgers player development. That wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, although, the GM is kind of a unique position, right? You have to have a lot of different skills. And as far as like free agent targets, I'm not ready to look into all that yet. I do like. I suddenly do like the idea of Wilbur Flores, but other than that, I don't know. It's. I will say this, Scott. You come back to us in about 2 months, and we'll answer the rest of these questions. I guess realistic trades we'd like to see. I mean, we've kind of discussed that. I think the a duplication of last year's Daniel Norris for Reese Olson trade would be, I think, just fine, right? An expiring Michael Fulmer for a promising young pitcher in A-ball, ready for Double-A. I think that would be fine. I mean, you'd love to get bats, but you can't. Really, beggars can't be choosers when you're trading guys at this point. So I don't know. You would like to think that the Tigers can add 2 to 3 decent prospects here at the trade deadline, and by decent I mean guys who would be on like their top 30, probably somewhere between 10 and 20.
All right.
Unless there's a bigger market for Soto than we know.
Yeah, I'm still working on the I'm operating on the idea that it's just going to be basically Fulmer and Chafin, but
Yeah.
who knows? It could be an absolutely wild trade deadline. We don't know.
Yeah, it would be funny if there was the trade deadline was all of a sudden all that thunder was just nothing.
Yeah.
That would be one of the.
Well, I mean, it's interesting like that because trades do tend to it becomes an arms race, right? If somebody makes a gigantic trade, suddenly it becomes like, oh boy, we got to do something too. Like the A's trade for John Lester, John Lester. So the Tigers get David Price. Like you need something like that to happen. So maybe it'll get wild.
So we'll see. Grossman hits 360 against lefties. Does any contender need a lefty masher? I haven't looked at clubs close enough to know, but at least that's a skill that you could probably put on the market and see if they can get a live arm in return for it.
Yeah, anything basically. I mean, even a 26-year-old reliever with upper 90s fastball. That's Grossman's going to be gone. Take a shot. So
take a lottery. What do they call it? A scratch off or lottery ticket or whatever.
A Mega Million.
Yeah.
Ooh, by the way, was that drawing tonight? Wasn't it $810 million?
Was it tonight or yesterday? Was it yesterday?
Yesterday. Next one is Friday. $1.2 billion.
Boy, I could use that.
Wow. You say billion? Did you say billion?
Yeah. Billion with a B.
What I'll do, I'll talk to the lottery people and I say, you know what? You don't have to give me all. I'll take half. That's it. Just give it to me now. I'll take half. Next question, Ed Miller. So he's this is kind of a procedural question. How many guys are actually in the room with Al Avila making trade decisions and their names? So here's the thing. There isn't like, I mean, the front office and the scouts and everybody, they do get together and discuss things. Oh boy, Charlie the squeak dog. But there's not like this, underground bunker where everybody gets together to make trades. Basically, there's a Slack chat with all relevant executives in baseball, and they text each other and they send each other like random trade proposals in like emails and stuff. It's basically like your work. But through the desert.
It's a horse with no name. I was just talking about there's no names. Get it?
Oh,
yeah.
But essentially, yeah. I mean, you're going to get some lower ranking guys. Your assistant general managers like Minzin and Sartori working on trade deals. You're going to have some higher ranking scouts that might be involved. There may be even assistants and advisors and things like that. But eventually, it's going to be Al Avila making the yes or no call. And if it's big enough, it'll be Chris Ilitch making the call. But I don't think there's going to be anything that big happening.
Well, then you got Jonah Hill in there, and you got you got the owner from Major League, Rachel. What's her name?
You're not too far off from the Slack because some of the MLB.com writers who sit in front of me in the press box, they are always in the Slack channel, and also the official scorekeeper people are the same way as well. And look, if get back to the lottery for a quick second. If I won the lottery, look, I talk about the typical pay all my student loans, do all that stuff. But I would make sure I would do this. I would find a way to do this full time.
Yeah.
baseball. I will do full. Look, I will look. Let me just say this about anybody that knows me outside of here. I do not believe. I would like to believe that I'm good at marketing, and I've proven results over and over again. But for some strange reason, I run into people who are some of the most short-sighted, idiotic people I've ever met in my entire life. I'm not going to name names or anything, but the point I'm trying to make is I would just do this full time. I would cut video all day. I would be at every game. And you know what I would do? I think the wacky thing I do with all the money would be this. And my wife would kill me for this, but I really don't care. I would buy 3 cars. That's what I do. I'd buy 3 cars, nothing outrageous, but it'd be all economical cars, except for one that'd be kind of like a classic car. And there's 2. I buy a 1971 Datsun. Okay, listen. You understand? Okay, so Yooper, I don't know if all right. Okay, so let me explain what I would buy, and this is I'm going to show people a picture of this car because to me my dad worked on one of these when I was a kid, and it stood out to me. Also, because my love of Transformers, blah blah blah. Some of the Transformers were actually based off this car, and it's a 240. I'm going to share it with everybody right now who are watching here. Raj TV, that would be funny. That is the Datsun 240, 1971. That is a sweet car, and that's what I'd buy. I would buy one of those, or my first original car, which was a 1989 Ford Escort. Why? Because I'm weird about nostalgia, and that's what I'd buy. And this was the original car I had when I was high school. I saved up. Look, this is the same as that car too. Same as that color and everything right here. 1989 Ford Escort. It was 2-door, and I love that car. Because I don't know. Anyway, that's
pretty cool.
I buy some cars, I pay off all my loans, and I would do this full time, and also probably redo the entire studio where it's like soundproofing and all that jazz. And I would have 5 more monitors around me. I'd be surrounded by computers. That's what I do. So, all right. Anyway,
I'm more of a real estate guy. If I would do the lottery.
Yeah, I would invest. Yeah, looks like
I would have my Lake Superior shore home. I would have a home on the coast of Maine, and then I want something up in the mountains, probably Wyoming, Idaho. So that's where I'll be. But I'll come join you guys for a podcast in LA when they're out there and stuff.
Oh, yeah. By the way, Christopher, with the comment of the year, it looks like an Autobot, Prowl, or Blue Streak. That's what I have right here. I literally have, I think this is Blue Streak. Although he's gray, but anyway, that is Blue Streak. So, awesome. Anyway, Mirage. Oh, man. Look, don't get me started on Transformers because this is a baseball podcast. People are like, oh, you care about Transformers. I can do a whole podcast about Transformers. I could. I mean, that's my collection's right behind me, so I'm not gonna.
Well, when you win the lottery, you can.
Yeah, you know what? I honestly would probably go eight. You know what? For Transformers, look at this Wind Charger. Remember Wind Charger? He was dead in the movie. All right, enough about that. Okay. Ooh, that no, that's a good one there, Perry. That's a good call. Ooh, that would be nice on the West Stanford's Chevrolet over in Dearborn. Chris, continue.
All right, we got a question from Steve Butts. He said inside the numbers. So he contributed to that. He said the Tigers are 4th in bullpen ERA at 3.14. Does their bullpen leverage index and xFIP reflect the same level of performance as the trade deadline and a much weaker bullpen creep up on us? So the answer to that is no, it doesn't. The Tigers actually have a below average xFIP for their bullpen this year, and their leverage index is kind of right, in the same range. Now, the leverage thing is partially because they've just been getting blown out a lot, right? They don't get to pitch in as many high leverage situations because they're not very good. The xFIP is high because the Tigers bullpen is among the best, if not the best, in baseball at avoiding home runs. So, and FIP always kind of, regresses home runs to an average level. So there's that. I don't know if it's sustainable, but we've seen, Joe Jimenez has basically curbed his home runs this year. Tarik Skubal has basically curbed his home run issues this year. Gregory Soto doesn't give up home runs. Michael Fulmer doesn't get hit at all by right-handed hitters. I think it's probably going to go up when the back into the bullpen goes, but I think it's still going to be a top 10 bullpen by the end of the year. Maybe not top 5 anymore.
I think the numbers from early in the season is going to carry them, though. I think that depending on what happens here in the next couple of days, I think it's going to get knocked down a little bit. I think the bullpen might be a point of a weakness, maybe. I don't know. Like, I think it might be in the next couple months. We'll see.
I thought it was going to be a weakness for the season. I thought it was going to be a disaster this year. And then, Alex Lang has been good, and just about everybody has been good in the bullpen. Will Best, Jason Foley has been a quality contributor. They went and, they signed Daniel Norris to be a starter, right? But who knows? And Jacob Barnes is back in the system. And so.
Chichi Rodriguez. Oh, they're bringing the hits.
Chichi Gonzalez, right?
Gonzalez. Sorry. That's the second time I made that mistake. Oh.
Chichi Rodriguez would be even better. Doing a little sword thing. So.
Yeah. All right. And anything else, Chris?
Yeah, we got more.
Keep them coming.
Phil, I think you answered this actually on Twitter, but Phil asked, why not just sign Fulmer? Bullpen the only bright spot. Why weaken it for probably little in return? We've talked about this before, right? The relievers are just so volatile that if you're not competing, exactly.
His injury sheet is just so long. Do you really want to go 3 years on him? I don't know. Maybe, but I think they're just happy to move on.
He's been good this year, but he has seen significant regression, particularly against left-handed hitters. Left-handed batters have like an 800 OPS against them this year. He's basically just a slider pitcher now. So, maybe he'll figure things out. He's done it before, but he's definitely not. You trade him, get whatever you can. If you like him, you can always sign him back if he wants to. It's not a big loss. He's only under contract for another 2 months. So, other guys like Soto and Jimenez, it's more of a decision there, I think. But for guys who are in expiring contracts, the team's not going anywhere. You might as well just try to get something, and you never know. Maybe they'll turn into a good player.
We'll see. I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought there. I was going to go somewhere with it, but
yeah. So I don't know if there's any more comment to that.
No, it depends on who's developing him. That's essentially it. If it's going to be under this development, then I feel a little better about it.
Yeah. So I don't know, but and then our final question that I see, there might be some more somewhere. It's from Deadly Ninja Bees. He said, "One, does every error this season result in a run? Why can't the Tigers hire these popular swing doctors that the players work with in the offseason? And 3, fire Avila." So yeah, the Tigers did give up 3 runs today, and they were all unearned, I believe, right?
Yes, they were. They were all unearned. Yeah, the one that Jimenez gave up, and I believe the 7th was unearned too.
Yep.
Yeah, what was the error there? That was the
Eric. That was the little flip.
Yeah. That's like his Achilles heel, making the soft throw. It turns into a mud ball every time, and he lollipops it. And although I thought Harold Castro did actually come down and get him out, but I didn't. Guess they went with the call on the field.
Yep.
I'm trying to find, how many unearned runs the Tigers have allowed this year, but at the moment I'm struggling.
Well, I mean, just the defense itself has been disappointing. You think back to. I think back when we had Dan Dickerson on, 10 days before the season started.
Yeah.
And he was so excited about the defense. He really was. He was genuinely tripping out on seeing Barnhart up the middle with Baez and Scope and Reilly Green. I don't know, maybe Green wasn't hurt by then. I'm not sure. Or if he was, he thought, well, Hill will be out there, and I thought we'd have the Tigers would have a good defense. I don't think anybody saw Candelario regressing to the extent he did this year. It's just been been a comedy of errors at times.
So yeah, it looks to me like after today, the Tigers have allowed 44 unearned runs this year, which seems to be about. Let's see, the league average is 26, 38. So they're not too far off that. It's not great, but it's not historically bad or anything like that. As for hiring swing doctors, I don't know. I don't know. I think a lot of the swing doctors don't necessarily want to work for teams because they make more money doing what they're doing. They probably get paid by the hour, right? Working with these millionaires rather than, I don't know how much a Major League Baseball hitting coach makes. It's probably not nearly as much as you'd think. I'm guessing like tops out at like 150, maybe less than that.
Man, I'll tell you, I got to believe some of those guys make big money off of high school players with daddies with big, deep pockets.
Absolutely.
That's got to be a real good source of income. Just seeing, you just go to a travel baseball tournament and look at the cars. There ain't a rusty car in that parking lot. Let me tell you.
Going to Orchard Lake St. Mary to watch Brock Porter this year. I was coming in with my car and I'm like looking around, like my car's really small too. All these tricks, the huge Dodge Rams and big, but there were some nice cars. There's a Range Rover or 2 or 4 or 5. Yeah. So, but
I just looked it up. According to this site, based on the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, MLB hitting coaches typically make between $50,000 and $60,000 a year. So you could probably make that in 1 week working with Aaron Judge, right? Yeah. You work with Aaron Judge and you charge him $50,000 if you're fixing his swing and he likes it.
That must include the minor league hitting coaches, right?
I can't imagine big league hitting coaches making that little.
Yeah.
But this is according to this website, sapling.com. So who knows? I'm just saying that's what it says online. So I think the basic concept here is that I think a lot of these hitting coaches can make a lot more money in the private sector than they can for a big league club.
Well, we'll have to find that out for sure. Michael believes I think in the private sector, I would think there would be a lot more because you see that now with some of these hitting. We were talking about this with Brian Sikowski last week. There's a lot of baseball complexes. There's one by your house that opened up, and I don't know how is it down there in Iowa, Yooper? Is there a lot of those kind of specialty baseball complexes down there?
Yeah. There's 3 main ones here in the Des Moines area. They sponsor a lot of the travel baseball teams. Those are some of the big rivalries. Whether you play for one of those 3, they end up playing each other a lot, and they're really big organizations. They'll have teams from 7U all the way through 16U. And those guys are in there all basically probably doing some baseball activities at least 10 months a year.
Yeah.
And the more I tool around the internet, the more you can see things that say like $200,000 a year, $700,000 a year.
Thank you, Michael, for keeping us.
Does not sound.
Looking.
What's that?
No, it's telling Michael. Thank you for letting us try to continue to find out the truth of that, or more facts surrounding it, I should say.
Yeah. So in any event, I still think that private hitting coaches can make a lot more than just based on the number of clients you can have and how rich those clients are, especially if you're working with big leaguers.
So Major League Baseball teams carry 5 to 10 assistant coaches. Each earns between $150,000 to $700,000. Just rambled that through pretty quickly. $700,000 per season, according to a 2011 story in the Wall Street Journal. Thank you, Mike, for posting in there. Michael, much appreciated. So yeah, and anyway, what are we doing wrong?
What's that?
Oh, they can make that kind of money. But continue. Go ahead.
Oh no, that was the final question.
All right. So the Tigers will kick off a 4-game series starting in Toronto Friday. We'll figure out the mystery starter. But Matt Manning, by the way, had a strong outing. We talked about that earlier, but he probably won't go again until probably Monday. So yeah, Friday was the mystery starter ended up being Brian Garcia, which was kind of just it's kind of like it's like when you have a ice cream in your hand or something, it's melting pretty quickly. Just as soon as you get it, it's just like, oh. I honestly forgot Garcia. I totally forgot about Brian Garcia for a minute there.
Well, I'm really waiting for this weekend when you're sitting there in a suit and tie, Raj, at the desk of the Woodward broadcasting system, like Walter Cronkite with the JFK assassination, and you're reading about Tarik Skubal's trade, breaking news at 12:04 p.m. Tarik Skubal was traded, and you start breaking down into a little tear like Cronkite did.
This is what
that's what we have to look forward to this weekend.
I'll give you a sneak peek here. Hang on, let me we have breaking news out of Toronto. Left-handed pitcher Tarik Skubal, who has led the Tigers in WAR this season, has been traded to the Arizona Diamondbacks for Sergio Alcantara and several prospects to be named later.
Well,
Skubal will report to Arizona.
We do
approximately.
have the trade.
Did you have a trade?
Yeah, the boys are mentioning it here on the chat. Benintendi to the Yankees. For 3 minor leaguers apparently.
There you go. It's starting to happen.
Hold on, wait. You know what? I mean, this is worth. Man, you know what? The one thing I don't have my soundboard, and I wish I did. I never think about it till afterwards. Is a breaking news sound, breaking news alert. So we should do that. Yeah.
Oh yes.
There we go. All right. So yeah.
Everybody.
Jeff Passan of ESPN reports. Let's see.
Nothing better than breaking news at the end of an hour and 45-minute podcast.
Right when you got it right where you want them.
Oh man! Like here we are wrapping it up, and wait. Wait, I thought the Tigers made a trade. What? Yeah. So Vinatieri, by the way, will get vaccinated. Probably, I would assume so at this point. He was one of the players that was not. But if if the Yankees want to get through to win the postseason, they have to go through Toronto. But I always hate these people right here. Announce for once, whatever. Who cares if he's not vaccinated, man? My man, doesn't matter. That's his choice. But anyways, I think that's what might happen if they're going to go to Toronto. Maybe he will. Who knows? I don't know. Anyway, but the Yankees are making the first move, which means that could be a trade tomorrow.
I think we'll see a lot more.
Gonna get hot and heavy.
Yeah. So there we go. The first domino falls as the Yankees get aggressive and get a pretty good outfielder who used to be a Red Sox. So Boston fans right now are somewhere just shaking their heads or swearing. And yeah. Anyway. All right, folks. So if the Tigers do make a trade, expect us to jump on air immediately after it happens. So I could be in my pajamas. Chris could be with Charlie, carrying on Charlie like he does every night. I don't know. Yooper, I don't know what Yooper will be doing. I mean, maybe drinking a beer, watching baseball somewhere. I know that he'll just be like,
I could be outside. My dog has kind of had the runs lately. She got some kind of virus. I'm outside with her all the damn time. So I could be outside in the front yard. That'd be good.
All right, so that's the way we end the podcast. Yooper's dog taking a crap on the front lawn.
That's what we'll think of the Skubal trade.
Oh man, where did we go wrong tonight, folks? Oh, guys, all right, man. TMI, Mike, you're absolutely right, Michael. TMI. On that note, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. We appreciate it, and the podcast will be ready for you tomorrow morning, pretty quickly. And please subscribe to Woodward Tigers YouTube channel if you have not already, or the Tiger Minor League channel, or Tiger Minor League Report, which, by the way, get closer to 1,000. So tell your friends. And I'm giving away fitted hats too. So please subscribe. And if we get to Twitter, we're getting close to 10K. 10K. We're almost 150 followers away from hitting 10K on Twitter. And that would be a major accomplishment considering that we've done that all organically. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you as soon as something happens. Have a great night, everybody.